Liz Truss becomes the UK Prime Minister after bringing an end to weeks-long political drama. Truss defeated Indian origin former Chancellor Rishi Sunak in Conservative Party leadership race to hold the top post. Today, in our special discussion on the change of guard in Britain and its significance for India, we have Dr. Harsh V. Pant, Vice President, Studies and Foreign Policy at Observer Research Foundation. Welcome, Dr. Pant.
Thank you.
Dr. Pant, what will be the priorities of the newly elected Prime Minister Liz Truss to tackle the challenges she has after taking the hold of Supreme Office?
She's facing multiple challenges because Britain is facing multiple challenges at the moment. There are questions about the economic viability of British economy. The people are facing enormous problems in terms of the rising cost of living. The energy costs are rising and winters are coming in. So people are very anxious as to what will happen to them in their survival. There are reports that by early next year, inflation can be as high as 23%, staggering number by any measure, and the public finances are not very good in Britain at the moment. So I think the main issue for Liz Truss would be to ensure the economic health of Britain, to restore the economic health of Britain. And I think a difficult task ahead in that regard, but that is going to be the focus. And in her opening remarks, she has already talked about how she wants to work on the economic front. But more than that, I think she is taking office at a time when people feel a bit lost in Britain. There is a vacuum of leadership. Boris Johnson had actually not been a very effective Prime Minister despite a massive majority in Parliament. He had been missing in action and since in early July, and since then there has been a lack of governance in the country as well, lack of any governing authority. So she has to restore the governance in Britain and also bring together the Conservative Party, which is very badly divided and which has had a very bruising election where Britain, two different visions of foreign and economic policies were presented and division. So she'll have to heal that to ensure the Conservative Party can win the next election vis-a-vis Labour, where Labour at the moment seems poised to be the winning party. So she has multiple challenges, and none of these challenges are going to be very easy to resolve.
Indeed, Dr. Pant, she have to face a lot of challenges, especially what you said about she needs to rediscover the unlimited potential of United Kingdom, as she stated in her statement after winning the elections. Dr. Pant, last year as a cabinet minister, Liz Truss described India as a major opportunity. She said that UK and India are in a sweet spot of trade dynamics. So, Dr. Pant, how will Liz Truss as a PM of United Kingdom add on to the positives for India?
On India-UK relations, I think this is one area where we can, with some degree of confidence, say that the relationship is going to be moving forward in a very, very positive direction. And over the last decade, what we have seen is that there is a new thrust, there is a new momentum in Indo-UK relationship, because in some ways, India's relationship with the UK have become devoid of the personality cult, that whoever is the Prime Minister in Britain, it does not matter, the personalities don't matter, because the interests of India and Britain are at the moment convergent and they are willing to work towards. Therefore, we have seen Prime Minister after Prime Minister in Britain trying to build on the relationship with India. That is, I think, a very, very positive development. That is something that I think we are rightfully in the midst of. And the most, and of course, under Johnson, we have seen great engagement with India. And Boris Johnson's last visit to India was very, very fruitful, where in particular the thrust was on early finalization of a free trade agreement. And by and large, Liz Truss, as the Foreign Secretary, has been at the forefront of implementing that policy that Johnson had laid out. So she will be continuing to take that forward. She is very optimistic about India, appreciates what India brings to the table, and she appreciates the convergence between India and the UK. So across various domains, whether it is trade, whether it is technology, whether it is people-to-people ties, or whether it is the Indo-Pacific, where Britain now wants to play a larger role. The convergence between Britain and the UK would ensure that this relationship under Truss will continue to grow. And India, of course, the immediate future would be looking at an early conclusion of the free trade agreement that both sides have said should be done by Diwali. So I think that is where in the short term would...
Definitely, sir. India and UK are on a track to conclude negotiations for the comprehensive free trade agreement under the 2030 UK-India roadmap by Diwali, as you said. So, Dr. Pant, Truss has been in full favor of this agreement. In your views, what does this agreement hold for the Indian economy?
This agreement, it is what we might have as an early harvest agreement by Diwali, and then the two sides working on a more comprehensive agreement later on. But certainly what this agreement would do is to make make India and the UK special trading partners of each other. And India, I think, in recent months have been concluding these agreements. We have had a comprehensive economic partnership agreement with the UAE. We have had the early harvest agreement with Australia. India is working towards other such agreements with Canada and other countries. And I think there is a sense that India, after a long time, serious about concluding these free trade agreements, which in the past India has not been very successful at. So this would give a new momentum to India-UK trade ties. And for UK, this is important because UK is looking for new markets. UK is looking for new partners after its exit from the EU. And India, at this point in time, is also looking at new trading relationships with countries with which India is comfortable. So we are moving to a phase of globalization where countries that are like-minded, that have converging interests geopolitically, are trying to come together geo-economically. And I think that's where this pact would matter, because India and the UK are convergent on geopolitical matters and they are very comfortable with each other.
Dr. Pant, during Liz Truss' visit to India as a foreign secretary in March this year, S. Jaishankar and Truss were involved in sharp exchange on oil import and sanctions on Russia, and we know how firm stand India took while talking and discussing about the sanctions on Russia. So now, in the capacity of Prime Minister of United Kingdom, what major decisions can we expect from Liz Truss on this matter?
Much like Boris Johnson, who was very, very combative vis-a-vis Russia on the Ukraine question, Liz Truss will also pursue a policy where she would basically take a very aggressive stance against Russia and a very forceful stand against Russia is doing to Ukraine. She would stand strongly with Ukraine, and there is no question about it. I don't think she's going to change the policy. I think we can expect a visit very soon by Liz Truss to Ukraine as well. So in terms of the support for Ukraine, in terms of the support for the larger Western effort in shoring up Ukrainian resistance vis-a-vis Ukraine, we are going to see a continuation of the past. But as far as India is concerned, and India's differences that India has had with the West on this, they are explicitly articulated, as you point out. Dr. Jaishankar, India's foreign minister, pointed it out very categorically, that we have our own interests and we are not willing to take sides in this conflict. The West has a particular point of view. India respects that point of view, but that does not mean that India will be shy of projecting its own sense of where it is coming from in this conflict. And if we see, India has taken a very consistent position that ultimately the two sides will have to come to the negotiating table for a political resolution of the Ukraine crisis. And ultimately, it's a question where international law, international norms, territorial integrity and sovereignty of countries should matter. And therefore, there is no question of India giving up on those normative values. But as far as India is concerned, India will be seeking its own interests and India will be seeking its own engagement with Russia. India, for various reasons, has had a long-standing partnership with Russia that will continue in the defense realm, that will also continue in terms of India importing energy, oil and gas from Russia, because India being a relatively poor economy, the political economy of India demands that India get best deals for itself, for its people, and that's what New Delhi is trying to do. So I think while there may be differences on the Ukraine question between India and the UK, what we have witnessed over the last few months is that there is also today a better understanding of Indian position in Western capitals. Whether it is London, whether it is Washington, whether it is Paris or Berlin, there is a realization as to why India has this position vis-a-vis Russia. India is not towing the line that West is taking on Russia, and India has its own independent assessment of the problem, and India is following that position. So while those differences will continue, I don't think that is going to derail the momentum that has set in India-UK relationship.
And definitely, as said earlier by our External Affairs Minister, S. Jaishankar, that it is no longer that India will follow West countries to just make bilateral relations. Dr. Pant, nowadays the United Kingdom is the preferred country among Indian students to study abroad due to its visa system. Truss has described India as the home of the brightest minds in the world and said that she is eyeing to attract such talent to the UK. Now, I want to know from you that can Indian students expect a smoother approval process for student visas in the near future?
That is something that we are witnessing now happening in the British system, where there is a recognition recognition that the processes, the structures and processes that are in place needs to be improved upon, and Indian students need to be given better support as they reach out to UK educational institutions. And if you look at the numbers, for the first time Indian students have outnumbered Chinese students in British educational system, because Britain has recognized that Indian students add value to their educational environment, and also because the numbers of Indian students going to UK, that has increased substantively. So there is a demand that better mechanisms should be in place to support these students who go to the UK. And I think that is why we are witnessing a shift, and Liz Truss certainly is aware of the opportunities that India presents, Indian students present, and she is likely to support more seamless mechanism that might be available for Indian students.
Indeed, Dr. Harsh Pant, very nice session with you. Thank you for joining.
Thank you very much.